Hello everyone. Thank you so much Vidushi for the introduction. I hope you guys are having a good time at IdentityShield 24. You guys must have attended a lot of sessions. Yes? If yes, just give me a cheer up. Great. So in this session, we are going to go over the evolution of authentication. Alright? So the first question that might be coming to your mind is, what is authentication, right? So today when you enter the premise, you must be asked with an identity. You must have presented your registration ID or something. That is nothing but you are being identified who you are. You must have visited airports or maybe an examination center. And the security guard has asked for passport or maybe an Aadhaar card. That is nothing but authentication. So simply saying, authentication is basically confirming who you are. Hey, what are you doing here, Gaurav?
I'm here for a session, evolution of authentication, right?
But you're not supposed to be here on the stage.
But I am authenticated. I have the identity card.
But you're not authorized.
So is there a difference between authentication and authorization?
Yes, authentication is not authorization.
Oh.
So when you entered today in the premises showing your identity, you were authenticated, but you did not get access to anything and everything present within the premise. You did not have access to the room, swimming pool and everything present here, but you only had the access to the sessions, the booths and particular resources. So summing up, authorization is being given permission for a particular set of resources, right? To make it really connective, so in the digital world, we access Google. We all have the Gmail accounts. We sign in using username and passwords. That is nothing but authentication.
So once we were preparing this presentation, I asked you about the access. Give me admin access. I want to make some changes. So was there authorization?
Yes. So I gave access of a part of my account to him to make the changes. That is, I authorized him to make some changes within the presentations that we are presenting here. So before we dive in, just a quick introduction about us. Gaurav, you get started.
Yeah, so I am Gaurav Todwal. I am a software engineer here at miniOrange. I have been 2-year experience in single sign-on and MFA. Beside that, let's make it interesting. I'm a dancer and an athlete, so I can dance for you if you want.
So I am Ishita Gaurav. I have been working in the security domain for 2+ years and have dynamic expertise in the security solutions, and I'm always passionate about learning what's happening around us. So it's the time to dive deep into the topic, that is how identities have evolved. We'll take a quick real-life example to make it a little familiar with you all. How many of you visited amusement parks? Everyone, right? So what amusement park does, when you take a ticket, they give you a wristband. Consider an example, the Magica, everybody knows about it. So once they provide you with an identity, the wristband, you get access to everything within that amusement park. Say food courts, rides and everything. So there's single identity that is providing you with all the access. That is nothing but centralized identity. It is something like creating an account on a website with single username and password, and that particular site holds the complete identity of it. How about a case where a group of amusement parks come together, build in a trust and say we are going to issue one single wristband and the user would be able to access all the amusement park with one single identity. That is something we are going to relate it with federated identity a little later within the presentation. But I hope you get an idea. You will not be asked to buy separate tickets or separate authentication for all the amusement parks. You will be able to access buy one. On top of it, how about this? If you need not buy any ticket, if you need not buy, you need not show any identity while entering, and you are your own identity, right? That is something that will fall under decentralized identity. right? So today, we are all in the digital era. We access a lot of sites every day. This was a basic real-life example, jumping into a pretty much digital example or making it relatable in that case. Consider yourself working in an organization. Some of you would be working in a few days, right? So whenever you go to the organization, you will have multiple platforms. An HR portal, maybe a code collaboration tool, since you guys are engineers, maybe, and a communication channel. You will be communicating within the company. So, according to the centralized identity, you will be asked to create separate accounts on all the three platforms, right? Your identities will be stored on all three platforms separately. In this scenario, you'll have to think of a strong, unique password each time. You might you might have password fatigue in that case. You might not be able to think of unique passwords each time. That is one problem in the traditional system. The other one could be, while if you have multiple applications, you might end up reusing the passwords, which we all end up doing. Like my Gmail account password is same as the one that I have it on Instagram. That is basically reuse of passwords, which increases security attacks. How is it done? The attackers might take the password from a less secured site and use it on a more secured site and fetch user details. Also, it could be an administrative burden for the administration to maintain identities on all three sites. On top of it, if you must be knowing of password policies. While we are creating a new password, we are forced to create a password that is that is minimum of 12 length, or maybe has a special character. That sometimes is the little frustration for the users. These are some of the problems that we face in the centralized identity or the traditional system. In order to resolve this...
Hold on. What if we can give all the users a single set of credentials to access all those resources which we're talking about? It would be easier, right? Having one set of key to open multiple locks of your house. So the key will be secured key which we'll be using to open every lock of your environment. So as you have seen in this picture, a user, which will be an organization user, will log in into Google to access all the resources present here, like Zoho, Bitbucket, and Slack. So what will happen? Let's say you just enter the organization premises, you open your laptop, you enter your Google details, username, password, you authenticate yourself, and you are inside organization hierarchy. Now, with a single button click, you can log in into different services like Zoho, Bitbucket, or Slack. It's easy as that. So what it will do? It will improve the user experience in a way that you only have to enter the username credential of a Google account and log in into multiple applications right away. It will enhance security. How? Major concerns of passwords are we tend to forget password, first of all. Second, the password are not secure. We tend to use similar password over multiple applications. So if we would be having a single encrypted key or single master key which is secured by us, so that we can access multiple applications using that particular key. So there won't be any security leak there. So the password defenses would be strong, though mitigation of the password leaks would be there right away. Ease of management. As Ishita already told you, the organization will now require to maintain user identity for each service at every service database. Like for example, Zoho credential will be stored at Zoho and Bitbucket will be present at Bitbucket. So it would be a hard to manage task for organization to use all those credentials and use all those user profile to access user resources. So what the single sign-on does is it allow a centralized identity server containing all your identity to manage your user profiles. It's easy. Just update your username on Google. It will be automatically updated in Zoho. Nice. If you want to apply for leave, just change your name to something else and you can apply for the leave right away if you're not having that. So scalability challenge, that's an organization level challenge which we faces. Let's say my organization want me to access one other service. Let's say they want me to access a production environment of theirs. when I access the production environment, they will again have to create my account there. They will again have to ask me to log in there with the new username and password, and that would be again a bad impact on me because it would be an ill experience for me. So what single sign-on does is it provides or added other services directly to the ecosystem, allowing the user to access those new added service directly through that same master key which we're talking about. Okay. So now we have understood what single sign-on is, what it does, and how it allows us to enter our ecosystem with a single login credential. You must be thinking how it is implemented, how the trust is established between the Google and Zoho in this case. It's simple. We have developed some standards which I'm going to explain you right away in this session, starting from SAML to OAuth 2.0 to OpenID Connect. As shown in the diagram, you can see SAML is used for authentication, SAML OAuth 2.0 is used for delegated authorization, and OpenID Connect is used for authorization plus authentication. Okay. Moving on to SAML directly. SAML stands for Security Assertion Markup Language. By markup language, I can be assured that you must be thinking about HTML, YAML, and XML, right, inside your mind. So it's same, right? It's same, exactly same. So it's like a document containing a user profile. SAML is nothing. You can make a clear picture of a document containing a user profile. How? We will tell in this presentation right away. So for understanding SAML, you have to understand that SAML was developed in 2001, and SAML 2.0, which we are currently using, was developed in 2005 as a browser single sign-on protocol. I will emphasize on the word browser because it is used for authentication between two different websites, two different web applications. The SAML have three pillars which it stands on. First being the user agent, you, me, or any other person trying to access any resource. Another is identity provider. As the name suggests, it provides you an identity. It stores your identity somewhere safe. And a service provider. It's application, or you can say an website where you want to access some of your resources. Now, let's say I'm a user, I want to access Zoho with the help of Google. So in this scenario, I would be the organization user, the Google will be IDP or identity provider, and the Zoho would be the service provider who is providing me with the service. Simple. Now, user will log first into Google or the IDP where the session would be created containing the session. When login, the username and password will be validated on the IDP end only. So, single set of credentials will be used on IDP end to validate the user login is correct person or not. Once authenticated, now user want to access service provider. He want to access Zoho. What he will do? He will go around and click on the select button directly, allowing IDP to understand that this user want to access a service of Zoho. Once IDP understand that user want to access the service of Zoho, what IDP would do is send out a SAML assertion directly to the service provider, asking that this particular user who is trying to access your data or who is trying to access your resources would like to log inside your service. So now you must be wondering how this trust is established between identity provider and a service provider. It's like a trust relationship between, like you have with your family members, right? If somebody sends somebody to you, ask that guy for this particular detail, you go directly and you ask. So this configuration are made between IDP and SP to trust each other, sending out the details, user details between each other, allowing user to log in into service provider. Now let's dig deep into SAML assertion first. So as I said, the document, remember I told you the markup language. So assertion is that document, the encrypted and assigned document containing user profile. So once the user access IDP and login, SAML assertion is sent to SP. The SAML assertion contains your user profile, your username, your age, your date of birth, anything which service provider wants or needs to create your account inside it. So once the SAML assertion is sent to service provider, the assertion is validated and being processed by a service provider and allow you to log in into it. Simple, right? Going on to the next slide. Now let's have another example, a real life example to understand OAuth protocol. So OAuth protocol stands as an open authorization protocol. I would like you to understand the word authorization in the name of OAuth. It will be helpful to you to understand the ongoing flow. I wrapped up my office. I logged out from Google. It logged me out from Zoho as well as other resources. Now I go home. I want to listen to some music. कुछ ये भी ढीला हो जाए. And then I just listen to music. I log into first time when I click on Spotify button. What did I do? I create my account over there so that I can create my playlist, etc. With the help of Facebook, what I will do is I will ask Facebook to provide some of my resources, some of my values to Spotify to create my account there. Let's say I open Spotify app. I ask Facebook, I want to create account on the Spotify. Facebook sends out the user details, my profile, my favorite playlist, my profile picture, my username, etc. And it will automatically get populated inside Spotify, allowing you to access it directly. You won't have to enter your username, your maybe your user profile, your playlist, and your favorite singer's name. Have you ever seen this type of prompt when you log in into Spotify using Facebook? Or when you log in into any of the application using Google, you are seen with the prompt, want to allow these all details of this particular user to be transmitted to the service provider. So this type of prompt asks you to authorize the Facebook or authorize Spotify to access the resources from the Facebook. If you click on allow, the resources from Facebook itself will be transmitted automatically to Spotify. Now you must be wondering why the word authorization come here. So what Facebook is doing, Facebook is being authorized by the user itself, which would be me. Facebook will be authorized to give out resources to Spotify to create my account. Okay, so now it's called a delegated permission. I am delegated my profile, my permission to any specific app to create my account or to forward the resources to a different app. Simple, right? Next slide. Yeah. So let's move around again to the traditional environments. What happened? Let's say I have two apps, app 1 and app 2. Let's understand using Facebook and Spotify only. Let's say I have app 1 Spotify and app 2 as Facebook. I want to access some of my Facebook values or Facebook resources here in Spotify. What would I have done if the OAuth protocol was not being discovered? The first thing what I would have done is I have to log in into app 1 and I have to again provide the credentials of app 1 to app 2, asking them that the user who is trying to access these both applications are correct. What happens here? You are understanding, we are trying to give app 2 the user ID of app 1. That's a security breach, right? Giving your user ID to an application or third-party application. That's a security breach. Providingly, let's say we understand the security breach, but then also we just provide them the user ID and password just to access the resource of each other app. What will happen next? Let's say I want to change the password of my application 1. I change it to something like password. And now I will again have to go to app 2 and change my password there to allow app 2 to access app 1's permissions or app 1 resources. So it's a simple security breach and a huge task for a user to authorize two different apps to communicate between each other to share out the resources. Now here what the OAuth 2.0 flow comes in. So the OAuth 2.0 flow allows app 1 and app 2 to trust each other through the configurations that we understood in SAML protocol as well. So once the trust is established between app 1 and app 2 through the configuration, what will happen is user access app 1 and now wants app 2 resources to be accessed on app 1 side. So what will happen? App 2 will send out a prompt that app 1 is trying to access some of your resources. If user allowed that, yeah, the correct app is asking you for the resources will be shared between app 1 and app 2, allowing them to authorize a user or authorize a resource for be delegated upon each other. Next slide. So now we will going to understand how this OAuth protocol works. It will be a technical dwell upon right. understanding how a flow of OAuth works, and then we will understand how the authorization server and resource server allows you to authorize the user. So here are also three pillars: the application or the client, user or the resource owner, authorization server and resource server. These both can be considered as single entity. Like for example, the application here would be Spotify, the user here would be me, and the server here would be Facebook. So let's say I want to allow Spotify to access some of the Facebook resources again. What will happen? The application being Spotify will send an authorization request to user asking that this Facebook is trying to access your resources. Should we allow that or should we not? It's on you. We allow that. Let's say we allow that. So once I allow, user granted authorization permission to Spotify to access out the resources. So once the application get the understanding that user allows, we will send out again an authorization grant containing the code and configuration which we made. So once the code is being sent to authorization server is Facebook here. So Facebook will now understand that the code has been received. We can move forward because user has granted the permission to this particular application to access my resources. Once this is done, the access token, I will again emphasize on the word access token, will be sent by authorization server to application, saying that you have been accessed. Now, this access token is not alone a JW token or any token what you are thinking on in your mind right now. It contains some stamps, some scopes. For example, now I only want Facebook to give the permission to Spotify that the Spotify code can only access my playlist and my username, no profile picture. So where would we tell Facebook that only send these details? We have not seen any permissions level here in this flow, right? So this is done through access token. Access token have been stamped with some of the scopes containing the user profiles which we have to share between Spotify and Facebook. Once the access token is again shared to the resource server, we get the resources which we required from the Facebook into Spotify application. So you understand it's an server to server call, and then it moves around passing out the access tokens and allowing the user to access the resources of the particular service which we are trying to access upon. Moving on to the next slide. OpenID Connect. Now you must be wondering that we were talking about authentication, then we move around authorization. What if I want to combine both of the protocols together and make a new different protocol called? So the developer also wondered upon that, and they made a new protocol called OpenID Connect. So OpenID Connect is like, have you eaten a cake sometime? So cake contains bread and a cream top layer on it. So the bread is OAuth 2.2 protocol, and the cream on the top of it is OpenID or OIDC protocol. Let's understand in this way that OIDC is designed for authentication and OAuth is designed for authorization. Making them combined together is complete single sign-on flow designed to have authentication and authorization in same flow. Now you must be wondering why OpenID Connect? Why we have to discover that? We have SAML, right? Why OpenID Connect? So the thing here is the OAuth protocol was so developer friendly, it was so easy to develop and to understand that developers start making some way out around it to use it for authentication as well. OAuth 2.0, which was being made for authorization, was being used for authentication. So that's why this is because of the low standards and maybe due to the easy development which it provides, would allow it to log in or would allow it to authenticate the user. OIDC being a cream layer allows the user to log in into its application. Authentication is happening through OIDC and authorization is happening again through OAuth 2.0. Now you must be wondering what is user info endpoint. So the user info endpoint here contains your every user details which Facebook will have. For example, your username, your email, your ID, unique ID. Does it contain password? No, not at all. Password has been not passed around in this flow. Moving on the yeah. So this is the flow how OIDC would work. Again, there are three entities: user, client. Here, client would be relying party because now client will be relying on a server to authenticate a user, and the third one being OpenID Connect provider or OAuth server, whatever you want to say. So user requested access from a client or an application that I want to log in inside you. I want to log in and I want to access your resources. What will happen? This client being set up a trust relationship between the client and the OpenID provider will make some configuration, will send client ID, client secret, etc. So once the request access has been made over the client, the app one will go around and ask and fetch out the access token through the same flow which we understood. So once the access token has been received from authorization server, again come back to client application. In the OIDC, what happened is one more new scope is passed. This scope is called OpenID scope, which will help client to access ID token from a server. So once the access token and ID token is passed on the from the server to the client, user will be logged in using the user profile present on its side. It's simple to understand. Why? Next slide.
So, are you guys still with us? So now you know how when you log in into your Instagram account via Google or Facebook, what is the mechanism behind that? At the same time, are you guys aware about the data breaches? Have you heard that LinkedIn का इतना data breach हो गया, इतने $1 million का loss हो गया? You must have heard about such news. And if not, you should be aware about such news because cybersecurity is important for us. So there is one thing here. What if the federated identity? The idea was if we keep the if user identity at a single place, it will increase security, right? So again, there are cases that the federated identity gets breached. Okta is a popular identity provider, right? So we still have cases where it's where the federated identity is being breached. So here are quick precautions that we can take to ensure that such breaches do not happen. The first one being set strong passwords. Now you do not need to keep multiple passwords, you just have to choose one, right? That is where you can think of a strong unique password and keep one. Just a fun fact, if you include one special character in your password, it increases 9 hours for attacker to crack it. So we should use that. Also, you guys remember we were talking about tokens in the OAuth flow. So basically, token is the thing that will help us get the identity out of the identity provider.
They will just make me
If the attacker gets the token, he can also get the identity from the identity provider, right? One thing that was implemented is we are going to refresh that token regularly so that even if by the time the attacker gets the token and gets the resource, the token is expired, right? The next thing is we can implement strict access control. Everything comes under authorization. Next one would be single logout. So single logout is a feature that comes in SAML delivered. What it does is an identity provider is connected with multiple service providers. So when a session is logged out from identity provider, it ensures that you are logged out from other applications as well, so that nobody can access those applications basically. And on top of it, I believe you guys must be using this MFA. MFA is Multi-Factor Authentication. We're going to dig into how MFA can mitigate the risk. Phishing के बारे में सुना है? Phishing emails. So phishing is basically how one of the examples of phishing. What the attacker can do, attacker can send you a phishing email, which can be a replica of the original site. You being unknown about it, you can enter in your username and credentials into there, and your credentials are breached. Attacker now has your credentials. He can go to the original sites and use those credentials to get your identity. But in case you had MFA on top of it, MFA is something that you own, that you have. So this breach could have been stopped using multi-factor authentication, right? So taking the first example, now you're working in an organization where you can access multiple resources with one single identity and has MFA on top of it to make it a little more secure. These are the different 2FA methods that we come across. SMS, OTP or SMS, OTP or email. These are something that you are all aware of. There is this software OTP. How many of you have heard about Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator? You guys must be using that. I'm not sure about the students, but everybody else must be using. So ideally, these OTP or SMS and email are over the network and can be either forwarded or be reached. So came the concept of TOTP, that is time-based OTP methods. You guys can go and install these applications, Google Authenticator and Microsoft Authenticator, and see how OTPs are being changed with time. They are short-lived. And moving forward, these are something that are related to your biometrics. Here is a quick brief. You can give it a quick read about how MFA is helping. It is combining up that phishing example. So it is actually important to keep MFA on top of it, no matter what, no matter how irritating it is. It is irritating for me as well, because every time when I'm logging into Google, it prompts me for MFA. So that might be irritating, but important. Moving forward, sometimes MFA could be a friction, as I just said. You, in your organization, if you come up in the morning, log into an application, prompted MFA, and then you get authenticated. Enable honesty. The fermentation could be of the entities. And so, to remove this, we have risk-based authentication. How this is going to work out is it is going to access and evaluate the risks involved with the login process. Now, it's provided. Alright. So, it is going to look for unusual login attempts and evaluate the risks. I'll talk about the risks involved in the next slide. But if after calculation of the risks, if it seems to be safe, it is going to allow you to access the application without MFA. In the other case, it is going to challenge, and if the risk is high, it is going to deny. The risk signals could be time of access. So say for example, you are working in an organization from morning till, say for example, 8 to 9 hours. You can say we can have an rule set up that would say for 8 to 9 hours, MFA should not be prompted again. The other could be IP restriction, work from home era. If you are working from office, we can skip MFA. However, if you're working from somewhere else, if the network changes, we can have MFA imposed. Same goes with device restrictions. If you're logging into via office device, you can skip MFA. In the other case, MFA would be imposed. And location-based restriction, that is very important. So it is, say for example, the usual logins are from India, and sometimes the login attempts are being made from some other country. In that case, it is going to impose MFA securing your account, right? Alright. So these are the quick few references to the protocols that we talked about. You can just refer to, these are the RFCs. If you go and search SAML RFC, you will find these resources. That's all. Thank you for your time. We can now have a quick questions. We can take up quick questions if you guys have. And a free request, if you can provide us a feedback, that will help us a lot. So in the feedback, you can enter in anything that you learned out of it.
Or anything you like about us. Any questions for us? Yeah.
Federated and decentralized. Federated and decentralized.
You want to understand the federated and decentralized account. Okay.
So let's understand with an example. Okay. In your house, there is a pipeline going on, right? So in a pipeline, I'm trying to supply the water in my kitchen, my bedroom, and my bathroom and my washroom, right? So here in this case, when the water is coming from the pipeline and dropping out of the 3 different outlets, you can understand the water as an identity. This identity is traveling and going around the different pipelines of yours. So you are being authenticated, or you have been allowed to access your washroom, your bathroom, and your kitchen, right? So in the federated identity, what happens is there is one flow of water, a straight flow of water, and it's dropping apart for allowing you to log in, right? To understand it better, let's consider that your kitchen supply is blocked out, completely blocked out. So if the kitchen supply is completely blocked out, the water flow will continue for your washroom and your bedroom. So if one of the password or one of the authentication sources breached, your other sources are working fine, right? So in federated identity, you have one major role play of a centralized unit called identity server, which will allow you to log into multiple services without impacting the login of each other, without impacting each other in the login process, right? What happened in decentralized is, we thought, what if the password of the main centralized identity is breached? What happened? We are not able to control that. If we phish that, if the MFA token is being phished, if we are hacked, what we can do? We can do nothing. So what developer thought is of decentralized identity. In the same example, let's consider the water supply which is coming to your house is coming from your own well. So you are your whole soul dependent on the well, and you can safeguard your well according to your choice, right? So here's the decentralized identity, simple as that. You have your own well, the water is coming from that own well, and you can secure that. So your identity is control of you, not of that centralized unit where the water was coming from earlier in federated case. So अब पानी तुम्हारा है, वो तुमसे कैसे कोई छीनेगा? तुम लड़ोगे नहीं उसके लिए. You will fight for that. You will sign that. You will go to government authority. Water is mine. I have to use it as I like. So that's a decentralized identity, that all the identity which you are having is in control of you. To explain you better, I have one good example of that. Have you been to airport? Have you used DigiYatra? So it's a wallet containing your identity. In DigiLocker, when you access your 10th class mark sheet, what happens is, you ask CBSE, please provide me my 10th class mark sheet. I will have to show it to somewhere. Now in that app of DigiLocker, you access that identity, that 10th class mark sheet. It is stored inside your wallet, and now you can use that wallet to authenticate yourself with a 10th class passed person anywhere where you want. Similar in the case of Aadhaar card. So that's how decentralized identity works. You are the whole soul control of the identity which you are having. Are you able to understand, or should I go deeper? Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Doesn't that federal identity makes me more vulnerable? Because in case I am saving all my passwords or my identity secrets on one portal, so even if someone asks or try to hack me, they will hack that one identity source, and they will like make me more attackable on several sources which I am logged into, and they will use that data set and log into all my accounts and make the phishing attempt on. So
the services are different, and we have understood about MFA as well, right?
Yeah. So my next question is, and do you think that federal identity will be then overcome by MFA after some time? Because federated identity will be overcome by MFA services after some time because of the security problem.
MFA is always there on top of federated identity. MFA cannot replace federated identity. It's a security measure on top of it.
Time on OTP. That is
a type of MFA method. So, talking about multi-factor authentication, there can be multiple MFA methods. One thing is OTP that you get via network, right? The OTP is, you can configure it. Once you install that application, the OTPs are generated on your application itself, making it a little more secure. It is not between the network. So, nobody can get it from the network, right? So, these are basically improvising security, improvising methods of MFAs. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Not able to see the hand at the back. If you are raising, please stand up. No. Nice. So I don't think they are question. Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. We will value the feedback of yours. Thank you.